I'm getting the ingredients, but who knows what the final meal will look like. That's why we need to get some women up in here. You look so beautiful. Can I take your picture?
All right, we're back with another episode of Walkie Talkie. Today we are here with Sabrina. Sabrina, what's up?
Hey.
How you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, Paul.
Of course. Can you introduce yourself, let people know who you are, where you're from, and I guess what kind of photography you partake in?
Yes, I'm Sabrina Santiago. I'm a photographer based in New York. I've been shooting the street for like the last 8 or 9 years pretty consistently, I'd say. I'm really interested in people, environment, and how environment sort of shapes the stories we want to tell. And yeah, I'm stoked to be doing this. Thanks for having me.
Okay, where are we shooting today?
We're on 14th and 1st. I chose here. I was going back and forth where we should start, but I decided on here because I'm off the L train. So this is sort of a stop that I usually get off at if I don't really know where I want to go. And yeah, we'll just sort of see where the day takes us. I sort of have a rough route, but yeah, we'll just see.
Cool, let's go.
Let's go.
Like, what's your typical day in the city route or areas that you like to hit?
So I feel like I'm usually downtown, which is maybe why I feel like I never see you or anyone else, because I don't really hit maybe some of the street photographer like hotspots. But yeah, I love like Delancey Street is one of my favorite streets. I feel like, yeah, the mouth of the Williamsburg Bridge, I'm always crossing the Williamsburg Bridge. So it sort of feels like, yeah, where, you know, where you end up somewhere and you're like, here I am again. Like, you don't, like your body sort of just takes you there. And then you're like, wait, I didn't even mean to end up here. But yeah, I don't really usually have a rhyme or a reason, which I think is actually like also the most special part. Like, it's like your intuition is just guiding you, and you can just see where you decide to go that day. Yeah.
What kind of people are you kind of pulled towards?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, of course, in Midtown, you see a lot of people on their lunch break, and they're in suits and, you know, business wear. But then down here, it's like, it's really about style, and that's something I've been interested in my whole life. Just maybe not fashion, but style and how people present themselves and how like their body language and their environment is a reflection of who they are. So I don't know, I just tend to feel like the people down here are maybe younger, and a lot of people are getting off of school, and yeah, I don't know, maybe just more fashionable people, I guess.
You've already used the word environment a couple times. What about your environment propelled you to be a photographer? I know it has to do with your parents.
Yes, what? Yeah.
How did your parents impact your journey as a photographer?
So that's such a good question. I feel like my first sort of peek into photography was through photo albums, and specifically my parents' pictures together. My dad took these beautiful pictures of my mom on their travels together, and yeah, I remember the first time I saw them, it was like unlocking a whole new version of my parents. Like, you know, when you're a kid, you sort of think of your parents as just your parents, like, but then when you get older, you're like, wait, they had a whole life before me. And I saw these pictures when I was like 8 or 9, and I was like, my parents were so cool. And I just almost like, yeah, it felt like I was seeing them in a whole new light, and it really made me appreciate like them. And I feel like if he hadn't shown me those pictures, like maybe it would have taken me a little bit longer to get into photography. And I think that's so special. Like the decisions sometimes your parents make have such a huge impact on like what you decide to pick up. I got my first camera when I was 10. And then my dad gave me my film camera that I still shoot on when I was 13. And it was like game over. That was it. I was like, this is the best thing ever. And
what film do you typically shoot?
I have Portra 800 in this one and 400 in this one.
Never shoot black and white though.
No.
Have you ever been like, I want to be a black and white shooter?
Well, when I first started, I was doing stuff in the darkroom, and I was shooting in black and white, and I really loved that process. Like once I saw that first picture come to life, it was in black and white, but then I felt like color, and still feel that color is so central to what I like to shoot and what I'm trying to get across with my images, which is like the texture and tonal quality of people's skin tones and their hair. And for me, like, I love looking at black and white images. I find them harder to take just because it's just composition. You don't have the juiciness of like a bright red something. Like making you feel connected to the image. It's like, it's just what's there. And some of my favorite pictures are black and white, but for me, it's like color or nothing. Every time I've taken a picture black and white, I was like, wait, that should have been color.
Do you know what you're looking for? Like when you're out street shooting, what kind of frame are you kind of keeping an eye out for?
I think I'm more so looking for people, or maybe not even looking, maybe just feeling gravitated towards. And I think that's the best part too, is like, sometimes you don't know why, and then you look back and you're like, oh, it's because of the eye contact they were giving me, or what they were wearing, or how the light was hitting them. Like, I think that's sometimes the best. Like, I know why I'm maybe drawn to people, whether they feel like an unfamiliar friend, or you know that feeling where, or there should be a word for it, but like you look at someone and they look familiar, but you're not exactly sure how you know them. Like, I feel like that's something that I feel on the street sometimes, like just looking at someone and feeling connected to them. And I think it's like the process of discovering too, like, why am I really am drawn to women, definitely a lot of like teens, and people of color. Yeah, sometimes it's even just like the way someone's carrying themselves, whether they're walking really fast and they have like, yeah, that like confidence.
I feel like a lot of people say, or have this idea that photography, the things you photograph is like a self-reflection. Is that something that you believe in?
Yeah, every picture is like a self-portrait, right? I don't know, it's like, there's this, it's kind of a, maybe it's a corny quote, but I think it's true. It's like you leave pieces of yourself wherever you've been. And I do feel that way, because like, I feel like that's why I think it's really important to be a woman on the street today, and specifically a woman of color, because, you know, when you're documenting the street, you're also like putting, you know, myself is reflected in those pictures. Like for a while, that perspective was completely not included in the archive of street photos. So like, because it was mostly one kind of person taking those photos, you're missing out on a whole group of what someone else could have seen, or what someone else thought was beautiful or interesting about that moment. So that's why we need to get some women up in here, just so we're like, yeah, making sure that that archive is well-rounded. And, you know, because over time, like those pictures shape how we see people enjoying themselves in public, what people are wearing, what it actually looked like outside. And yeah, so I think like my pictures, while they are of other people, they are also self-portraits, for sure.
With that in mind, what like 3 photos do you think are actually best described as self-portrait of you, that aren't of you, obviously?
Ooh, that's a good question. Okay, one picture that maybe isn't the best at answering that question, but I want to talk about is during the pandemic, I was out all the time. I hate to say it because it sounds maybe bad to say, but I had a great pandemic. Like, I just was out shooting all the time and being really like, I was to myself, but I was also like, yeah, interacting with the world. And at that time, everyone had masks on. And I remember I was out shooting, and it was the day Biden got elected. And so that just sticks out in my mind. But I'm walking around, I'm like frustrated, people are wearing masks. I see this woman, and from the back I just see she has really good Levi's on, and she's wearing like a tube top. And then she turns around and she has this mask on that it was unlike anything I've ever seen. It was just so New York, but it was like this pink, it was a pink mask. You could see her eyes, it still covered her nose and her mouth, but it was just one of those moments where I was like, I was in the light was hitting her perfectly. Everything had aligned really well, because it was the frustration of me being like, oh, everyone's in masks. And then it's like, bam, someone just shocks you. And like, it's the most New York thing to be like, of course someone came up with that mask. And that picture, just forever. Like my mom was like, that's such a great picture. I loved it too. So yeah, that's definitely one. I have a series on hair, because hair is something that I feel like is a through line in my work, but is also something that I feel really connected to. So some of my pictures from that series I feel really connected to, and they feel like, feel like myself, just because I like to connect with people who obviously have, similarities. And I think hair is like, hair could be culture, it could be a religion, it could be so many things. And so stuff from that series, shots from that series feel really close to me. Yeah, I don't know. When you're out on the street, every picture is like part of your experience. Like, you're just collecting parts of your being. The light looks good on people as they're walking towards us, but I'm also like, this area is so strange to me sometimes. So I'm sort of feeling like maybe I wish that we were more downtown. Soho. A little scene change.
Is this your full-time gig?
It is. Some days I wake up and I'm like, am I gonna get another job? Am I gonna get another assignment? But it keeps things interesting, I guess. Yeah, no, it's difficult, but I kind of feel like I'm gonna do it either way, in a way. Like, even if I did have a different job, I would still try to make work, because in my mind, like, I'm always gonna do it. Like, I feel like that's something I actually thought about when I was starting. I think you get so like, maybe preoccupied by the idea of people seeing your work and when you're first starting out. But for me, I was just like, I'm gonna make these pictures regardless, because like, this is who I am. And maybe they'll get better over time, but it's not even about that. It's more just because I'm gonna do it because I need to. But I'm lucky because I feel like, because I've been shooting on the street, editors think of me on the street. And so I've gotten assignments where it's like, yeah, take a walk with this guy for like 30 minutes and make some pictures on the street. And I'm like, that's amazing.
What advice would you give someone who's trying to build a life being a full-time photographer?
Literally just make pictures all the time. Like, I have it's corny, but also like helpful. I have a little Post-it note by my bedroom, and it says, do you have your camera on you? And it's like, it's a question. Like, I could be like, no, I don't. But also, like, sometimes you just need a reminder. So yeah, I would say go out and shoot all the time. And I feel like once I started shooting all the time, I started developing what I would say is a style. And sometimes I feel like the style is kind of you can only develop that once you've taken enough photos and sort of seen them all and say, oh, what's like the commonalities? Like, what are the things that are separating me from the other people who are taking street photos right now? Like, what is it about myself that I want to be reflected in the pictures and the work I make? But to me, I feel like you can, it's like, you don't write an autobiography when you're in your 20s. You have to be old. Like, you have to know like what you've been through and, how you've developed and evolved as a person. So to me, I feel like those are like, it sounds so simple, but it's really just getting out there and taking pictures and forgetting about like all this fluff online. And me and my friend were talking about this the other day, but there's this idea of visibility. And like, because we live in the age of Instagram and social media, it's always like, oh, like you have to be visible. You have to be showing your stuff all the time. But to me, I feel like when visibility comes, if it does, what really matters is like what you were doing before it happened. Like, what is the work that you're spending all your time doing? Like, to me, this thing makes my life interesting. So I just feel like literally just having it around my neck makes me feel like I'm seeing the beauty in every day and I'm able to capture it. So
speaking of social media, what's your relationship with it these days? And how do you decide what gets posted versus what gets held back?
Yeah, I like talking about this actually. So right now, because I'm shooting so much, I feel like I have two banks of images. Images that I like enough, but I'm not like obsessed with them. And those are usually the ones that I will actually post, because I feel like, because this is my work, like I have to be posting. I have to keep myself like in front of editors' eyes, and that's just the reality of doing this thing. But on top of it, like, I don't want to be sharing all of my like most special moments and pictures. Like, I feel like that's when sometimes you just like want to keep them for yourself, whether it's for a longer term body of work, or maybe they're just so special that you're like, you know what, this one's for the archive. This one's just for me. And I think when you're shooting a lot, it's nice because you get to see what that pool is like and kind of like put them into the pockets that you want them to be in.
What's your ratio of like looking through the viewfinder versus shooting from the hip?
I'd also say it's probably 80-20. Yeah, I definitely do have gotten a few, like, that's why it's like the camera strap where...
I don't even think I asked, like, what cameras are you even shooting with?
So this is a YASHICA. This one is a YODOBASHI camera, which is a sort of newer acquisition. I'm not really a gear person. Anyone who knows me well can confirm, but I was intrigued by this one because I'd never heard the name before. But then I've since learned that it's just a huge electronics store in Japan.
And whether you're a gearhead or not, everyone needs to find that camera that works for them. And you can find yours at KEH.com, who is sponsoring this video. With over 60,000 items in the inventory, KEH is sure to have the SLR, the rangefinder, the mirrorless, or whatever camera you're looking to add to your camera roster this fall. And because they've been doing this since 1979, you know exactly what you're gonna get with their tried and true grading system. Every camera is looked at thoroughly, cleaned, repaired, appraised, and graded by the best technicians in the game. But don't hesitate, because the camera you want could get snatched up today. Place your order today with confidence, knowing every order is backed with a 180-day warranty and a 21-day return policy. So use the link in the description of this video to find that camera that you've been looking for. And thank you to KEH for sponsoring this video.
So we're about to hit San Janaro, the Feast of San Janaro, which is a big Italian festival here in the city. What is your thoughts or process of shooting events like this, like big events like Pride and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many people and it can feel really overwhelming when you step into those spaces, but I try to find some of the little nooks where you can kind of get in there and it's maybe like a quieter moment amongst the chaos.
America.
This is a good place to come if you want to get pictures of people eating.
What other projects are you working on? Are there projects that you have that are ongoing?
So I've been accumulating a lot of Super 8 B-roll, as they say, of New York I'd say over the last 7 years. Some of it during the pandemic. So, you know, when people were like clapping outside their windows at 7 p.m., like I have that in Super 8, and it's funny because that format is so nostalgic. When you look at some of the moments in that format, you're like, wow, it feels so far, but then it's like, it's really close. And so I'm really interested in how format ends up like impacting the product and the result, which is also why I shoot on 35mm film. Like the way that the color pickup and the way that the light leaks and the grain and all of that is really connected to, you know, the same sort of payoff that I'm getting with Super 8. So it's really nice to sort of shoot between the two. And I also shoot on Polaroid sometimes. So it's really nice to have like, yeah, I'd say those are my three formats, like 35, Polaroid, and Super 8. Yeah. And so I don't know what it's going to end up being. Like I said, like sort of piggybacking off of what I just said. I'm collecting, but I'm not sure what the final thing will be, but I feel like that's what's almost more exciting to me is like, I'm getting the ingredients, but who knows what the final meal will look like, you know?
How would you describe your portrait photography?
I feel like my portraits sort of have the elements that I enjoy in street photography. Environment is definitely one of them. But I think for my portrait work, I try to incorporate some my ideals or views of fantasy and like how that can come into play in an environment. Like, you know, so sometimes I'll find people on the street that I want to photograph, and I'll sort of picture an environment that I feel like suits them or like fits who I think they are in my mind. And like, so for example, one subject that I've been photographing for the last like 7 years, her name's Camille. She's really, really long hair. I think she said she's only cut her hair once throughout her life. The first time I saw her, I was like, how can I play into who she already is, but make a picture that also feels like my interpretation of who she is, just like her aura, her energy, but like also like she looks like she's out of like a Renaissance painting. So like, how can I make that interesting? And the first picture I took with her was in the East Village. I used to live on 12th Street, and there was like this back alley between our apartment and the apartment next door. And when the light hit, you'd get this cascading shadow effect where you'd see, yeah, the shadow of the fire escape, and it just looked beautiful. And I was like, okay, that's it. Like, I need her on that side of on that fire escape while I'm on this side. And we made it happen. It took like, I think it took like 7 months to align for me to like get in contact with the guy who lived across the way. I put a sign that said, please text me, it's urgent. And he did, and I like got him beers like to thank him, but that was like what happened. And I feel like portraits are fun. Like you can kind of think about the same things you're doing when you're on the street, but you're able to like, yeah, make it more in a controlled environment, or sort of, place people a little bit more. So I like the two in combination with each other. I mean, both have to do with intuition, right? Like whether it's I'm deciding to photograph someone in Coney Island versus in their bedroom, like that's a choice. So I think they both have choices, but the portraiture is a little bit more, slower. Like I have more time to think about it and think about, I guess the final picture. Whereas on the street, it's like, I don't know what the big picture's gonna be. I love your bow. Can I take your picture?
Sure. Oh, yummy, Nikki.
You look perfect.
Thank you.
One more. Hello. Wow. One more. Beautiful. You look awesome.
So who are some photographers that have kind of shaped your photography and vision over the years?
One photographer who means a lot to me is Justine Kurland, someone that I've looked up to for so long. One of her books, Girl Pictures, is definitely one of my favorite books of all time. And you know, when you see a book and you're like, every picture just gets better and better, and the pages go on, and then you look back and you're like, wait, no, that's the best picture. She's one of those people that I feel like, you know, this first body of work was 4x5 pictures of girls in these beautiful Western landscapes, and had these themes of coming together and community building. And she made this work when she was at Yale in the 90s. And she was just picking up girls on the street and taking them and giving them situations, and she'd pose them. And they're just, if you haven't seen the book, you should definitely check it out. But she's now doing painting and collage, and it sort of just reminds you that, like, you know, I might be in my 35 era right now, but I could be in my painting era tomorrow. And it's really nice when you have those people in your life that just sort of remind you that you don't have to always be doing, like, you don't have to be one thing. Like, you can be so many things. And even in her like collage and paint work, like, you know, it's different, but there's still parts of her that I can see in that work that is the same person that I'm inspired by that's doing the photography work. So she really means a lot to me as an artist. And another one that I think about a lot is Alessandra Sanguinetti. Her book, Adventures of Gil and Belinda, is like some of my all-time favorite work. She follows two Argentinian cousins over the course of their lives. You see them as kids, and then you see them have babies, and you watch them grow and change. And that, like, I could look at that picture those pictures every day and take something new from them. I love that work so much. And also, just because he recently passed, I want to bring up Larry Fink. He's definitely someone that I think about often. I had this one conversation with him in college at Rizzoli Books, and he was doing a book talk, and just was such a warm guy, and he had his harmonica, and I remember he walked away and he was playing his harmonica and he looked back at me, and I like have that image like stuck in my head forever in the best way. But yeah, his book Social Graces, which has like the duality of like the Manhattan like high class society versus like the rural Pennsylvania work. Yeah, I really like the duality between the two, and I think he was really able to be the fly on the wall, and he gets a lot of emotion from his subjects, and yeah, I really admire his work. And yeah, he's a black and white guy that I love. Yeah, and I mean, I have to mention Vivian Maier. She's the queen to me. So she's also someone that I think about very often.
Would you say Vivian Maier inspired your self-portraits?
Yes. Yes, definitely. Yeah, I really like seeing in self-portraits. I like when you can see the camera, because I feel like being a photographer, I'm not photographed often, so I want to see my tool. I want to see it in the reflection. Like, I want to be able to have that image with the instrument in it as well. I love your outfit.
Thank you.
Can I take your picture?
Okay, give me 1 second. Hold on.
One more.
Need a stage. You gotta do on the stage. You gotta show the stage in the background.
Okay. Thank you so much. What's your name?
Irving.
Irving. Nice to meet you,
Thank you.
Sabrina. He was amazing. There we go again. The hair.
So we had talked about some of your all-time favorite photographers throughout the years. What about recent photographers that you kind of just discovered that have kind of like re-sparked an interest?
Dianita Singh, she's an Indian photographer, and she makes these she's really someone I think about when it comes to bookmaking. She's very innovative, and she's created these like sort of moving galleries that like function as books, but they can be like reassembled. It's sort of hard to explain it, but they're basically like portable galleries that are just like boxes of pictures, and they're all like assembled in this really interesting way. I think a lot about her when I'm thinking about, hopefully I'm gonna make a book at some point. I've been working towards that for the last few years. But yeah, I think about her a lot. She does all black and white images, so I definitely take inspiration from her, just like compositionally, but also just, in bookmaking. I mean, there's so many people. Brianna Capozzi, someone I've been thinking about. She just came out with a book. It's about sisters, and they're all like really beautifully styled images of just sisters. Yeah, the book is gorgeous. I think she actually worked with her when I was working with Delphine, the stylist. She was the photographer for something I was working on, and I loved watching her work, and she's really young, and I felt really fueled by her energy when I was around her. So she's someone I think about, yeah. Can I take your picture? Can I take your picture? Thank you. My mom is Pakistani and my dad's Puerto Rican, and for some reason I always feel like when I can sense someone is from that region, I'm like, I don't know, I want to interact with you or something.
What do you feel like you're currently working on or struggling with?
You know, I think, I'm curious if you feel this way, but with street photos, sometimes there is that thing that creeps it up on you and you're like, you know, we're just taking pictures of the everyday. Like, do people really like want to see other people in this way? Like, is it meaningful to them? But I feel like the more I think about that question, the more I'm like, yes, absolutely. Like, we're putting meaning to the everyday. And like, I think when you tell someone and you show someone something has meaning, they pick up on it too. Sometimes, you know, we get out here and we're, experiencing life and taking pictures that are a fraction of a second and they're of other people. And it's like, sometimes maybe I think, oh, like, does someone else want to see this picture of this person just passing me on the street? But I feel like it's what all of like the pictures collectively mean. Like, that's my slice of life. And while I don't feel like, you know, of course you want your pictures to mean something to someone else, like they mean something to me. And I feel like when you have that conviction of like, these pictures do mean something, like other people will get that too. And yeah, I think that's something that's sometimes like that little guy on your shoulder that just comes and says, like, look at you, you're spending all this time on the street, like, and what are you getting from it? Pictures of other people walking by you, but like, no, it's more than that. And you know when you experience it and you're doing it. I love your glasses. Can I take your picture? It's for myself. I'm Puerto Rican, Pakistani.
I like Pakistani, but I don't like Pakistani.
Why not?
Pakistani I can work with, I can't work with
Why?
pork in the can.
Why?
I don't like pork in the can.
Can I take your picture?
Well,
I love it. You look awesome. One more. It's so good. What's your name?
sure you want to know?
Yeah. I do.
Really?
Yeah.
What do I get?
You get my name too.
What do I do with that?
I don't know. You tell me. You look so great.
Thank you.
Can I take your picture? I like your hair.
Thank
Good
you.
color.
Thank you.
And with the shirt. It's nice.
This shirt's older than you.
I love it. I love
Twice as old.
it. Really?
I was probably your age when I bought it.
I love it.
Because I'm 81 now, and I bought this when I was about
You look
25.
amazing. You look amazing.
Thank you.
Wow.
Because the
Yeah.
best story is one time I was in Joffrey doing a men's class. And so in the dressing room, these three guys are about 20. Tall, the most gorgeous guys in the world with the humongous wangers and the most beautiful asses. And it took me 6 months, but I found my first apartment for $28.
Whoa.
$38 rather, a month. And I had
Whoa.
a roommate, and we used to be late with the fucking rent.
Oh my God.
And
That's
the
so.
owner was a Jehovah's Witness. Because everybody I know is so fucking old.
Wait.
I mean, thank God I keep making friends. Of course, they're all younger. Am I
Yeah.
gonna have older friends?
Right. You look so beautiful. Can I take your picture?
Sure. Yeah, no, cool. You just want me to
Yeah, whatever you're, yeah. Maybe you can look up at me. Wow. What's your name?
Piper.
Piper, I love that name. It's a good name.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Sabrina.
Nice to meet you.
Do you go to NYU?
I do, yeah.
I love your freckles. Thank you so much, Piper. Enjoy your day.
Thank you. It's nice to meet you.
You too. Hi. I love your outfit. It's so fun. Can I take your picture?
Sure, yeah.
What's your name?
My name's Red.
Red?
Yeah.
Yes, Sabrina, nice to meet you. I like saw you from all the way over there. I was like, who is this person?
You're so sweet. I appreciate it.
Can I get one more where your arm is sort of up by your face? Yeah.
Sure.
Love. Thank you so much, Red. Nice to meet you. Enjoy your Tuesday. We got some good color happening.
Do you ever feel like when you're taking portraits, you get into a groove, we could just ask anybody,
Yeah.
and everybody says yes?
Yes. Yes.
What does that feel like?
I think it's just like, I think once someone gives you one yes, then you're like, how many yeses can I get? And then you just keep going, and then you're like, wait, everyone here is willing to engage in the thing that I like to do, and it just gives you a confidence boost. And like, even sometimes when someone says no though, then you're like, I gotta get another yes though, so I'm gonna keep going until I get at least 3 more yeses. But I think when I'm in the groove of it, it just feels like I'm like sort of peeking into people's lives through this like connection, even if it's like 2 minutes, or like that other guy ended up, it could have been like 20 more. So it's really just amazing that you just get like, yeah, little glimpses into people's lives. And when you're on a roll, you're like, wow, I just met like 10 strangers. And if I hadn't said hi to any of them, I would have missed out on 10 people's stories, you know? Even if it's just like a portrait and like a glance or something. You look beautiful.
Can you talk about photography goals? How do you think about like your long-term goals versus short-term goals?
Yeah. I think one of my big goals is always, you know, when you think of like becoming a photographer, there's of course like, yeah, having your first photo book. And that's something that I've been working towards for the last few years. And I think bookmaking is, you know, it's so daunting because it's like there's infinite possibilities and it's never ending. Like it feels like I could just be searching for that one last picture that completes the project to a T. And like there is that duality too of like wanting to put out something that feels like who you were when you were making that work. And so if you prolong that, then the work starts changing and you're changing, and then you're like, wait, that work doesn't really feel like me anymore, but you still want to put it out. So I think there needs to be a good balance between like hanging on to something just to hang on to it, and also like releasing it when it feels like, you know what, that's a chapter of me and it's ready to be out in the world. And yeah, I could work on it for like 10 more years, I'm sure, but then it's losing that like the initial charm, I guess. Yeah, with goals, like that's definitely one of mine. But I also feel like goals can sometimes like, yeah, it's great to have things you want to achieve, but I think those things also like change. So over time, and maybe have like less priority and more priority at other times. So I try to be flexible with my goals. You know, there might be a new goal that might pop up like, I don't know, in the next few days, and then I'm like, you know what, that's going to be my thing that I'm working towards, and maybe the other things will take a little bit of a back burner. Like I feel like it's always in flux, and I feel like that actually helps me not to feel so like constrained by specific goals. Or the real things I want to achieve is just to keep making work and to keep pushing myself to get better at this thing and sharpen my tools and sharpen my eye. And I think that's like more what I'm getting at than these like, you know, benchmarks of like success, I suppose.
What about zines? Are there zines that you have coming up to use as checkpoints, as benchmarks to put things out there?
Yeah, and actually this is the first time I've been able to work on a zine. This is my first, I have a zine coming out in November that is all street photography I did in Mexico City when I lived there last year. And I'm really happy and like excited to finally release like a little teaser before that book comes out, because it's so nice to see things like physically, and I think we're so used to seeing things on Instagram. And yeah, I'm really happy that I have that coming out. Yeah, I feel like those photos are, a lot of my work feels very New York centric, so it's nice to just put that into a whole new world. And I was really happy with a lot of the pictures I got. So
Set to release in...
November of this year.
Okay. No hard date yet, though.
No hard date yet.
November.
Yeah.
Just in time for the holidays, everybody.
Yes.
All right, finish the sentence.
Okay.
I take photos because...
It's my portal into the world. I like this woman with this orange. Hi, you look so beautiful with your flower. Can I take your picture?
Excuse me, what?
You look
Oh,
so
you're
beautiful.
flower.
Yeah, can I take your picture?
All right. But so close.
Oh, you look so beautiful. One more. One more on this one.
No, come on.
Thank you so much. You look so great. I saw you with the flower and I was like, I have to take a picture.
Oh, you look so pretty.
Thank you. What's your name?
Christina.
Sabrina. Nice to meet you. Thank you, Christina.
Yeah, and thank you for...
Yes, you look amazing. Bye.
All right, that's gonna do it for this episode of Walkie Talkie. Sabrina, thanks for hanging out with me.
You're the best. Thank you. That was so fun.
Let the people know where they can show you some love.
Yes, Instagram is @ Sabrina Santiago, and my website is sabrina-santiago.com.
All right, and
Easy.
get that zine.
Yes.
November.
Thank you, Paul.
All right.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Peace.
Now when they see us in the streets, all they wanna do is take pics, and I'm like, okay.